Hey guys, what's up? So long story short, we're only gonna get one video out today, mostly because tomorrow I'm gonna try and wake up early and get you guys the SM game for SPL tiebreak. So that meant that I'm probably gonna go to sleep an hour or two tonight. So some productive stuff I didn't do during the day I got done. I got Yu Yu Rex, which I didn't record just because it's a tier I'm unfamiliar with, so I didn't want to make too big of an ass of myself. But it was fun. Um, and on top of that, I also just chilled on Discord and I did a lot of homework, so I have to deal with it later in the week, which is cool. But now we're here. We're going to go for another history lesson in Black White OU. Perhaps the best Pokemon historically in Black White, and definitely the best Pokemon right now in Black White, Latios. We're going to aim to bring you guys one of these a day, so keep your eyes open. Tomorrow, I actually have a couple of things in mind, so there might not be, but expect at least two or three more throughout the remainder of this week, if not four more. It depends on how many. Hopefully, I'll get one every day. No promises. Keep your fingers crossed. Anyway, so we're going to pretty much go through Latios. Um, Unfortunately, a lot more of this is going to be kind of discussing how good it is, as opposed to discussing versatility and differentiation, as Latios predominantly served one role. It just showed in a couple different forms, and there have been some branching out efforts. For example, you'll see here there's a calm mindset. Also, in conjunction with Magnezone, we've seen a Dragon Dance set see very sporadic usage on Drag Mag teams. Of note, McMegan and FLCL used that in tournaments like SPL a couple years back. I think ZF probably used it as well. If I had to guess, it's something really up his alley. I don't actually have any confirmation of that though, so don't quote me on that. But anyway, so back originally, Latios used the Choice Spec set a lot and the Life Orb a lot. Most notably, I actually stuck on the Life Orb train far longer than most. Both were very viable throughout Black and White as when it was the main generation, but for me, I used Life Orb until 2015, even early 2016, especially with Surf plus Hidden Power Fire, whereas by then 90% of people were already shifted to specs. I just used Life Orb quite a bit, all the way into SPL 7. I think even closer to SPL 8, but not quite. But yeah, I love the Surf Fire set because Surf allowed you to hit the Tyranitar for a decent chunk, and Fire was able to mean that you could pressure Spikers, so Ferrothorn couldn't come in safely, Jirachi couldn't come in safely, which was normally a check. Hidden Power Fire in Black White is pretty strong with 7 base power, especially off of Life Orb. People tended to use it on specs as well way back in the day. Um, you see here, Psyshock was also really common during that metagame as well. So yeah, no shocks there, I guess. A lot of people just used it because it was able to kill Terrakion in Sand, and it hit Chansey really hard, Tentacle really hard. It was spammable against rain teams to an extent. Trick wasn't as common back in the day. But as time passed, the novelty of Psyshock wore off, and people noticed it wasn't really the best move. It's very rare to see it nowadays. Someone still uses it on some Scarf variants to revenge kills for its against Tracheon, and in addition, just helps against Chansey, I guess. But no one else really uses it that much, and that's because it just doesn't hit a ton. It's a very limited pool of things it hits. Dragon Pulse tends to be better as just a second Dragon Stab at this point in time. Hidden Power Fire also has died down a ton over years. It was initially used quite a bit on both the Choice Specs and Life Orb variant, but now we don't really see it at all. In fact, we've seen more Hidden Power Fighting on Choice Specs, which really popped up a lot during the 2017 era and even a little bit into the 2018 decree, but not anymore so much. Hidden Power Fighting is great because it hits Ferrothorn and Rain for the same as Hidden Power Fire, but it also hits Choppal Tyranitar, or its Tyranitar in general, breaking the Child Barrier and switching in, etc., doing so much more. Unfortunately, Latios doesn't get Aura Sphere this generation, which apparently does get in Generation 8, which scares me when it's released. Oh boy. I will not be fighting with Latios. I'll be avoiding that at all costs. But yeah, and Surf is pretty much a staple coverage move. It hits neutral against steals, unless it's Heatran, which hits super effectively against Farrell, which resists it. But also, it's really good against rain teams to use it. And on top of that, it hits Tar without nuking your special attack down to -2. Um, Surf has a chance to kill a lot of Chople variants after Stealth Rocks, which is dope, of course. But classically, Latios ran Sleep Talk a lot starting with 2015-ish. People actually were slow for that because they're also slow to adjust to Amoonguss. But once Amoonguss grew popular, people ran Sleep Talk almost exclusively on Latios, or Sculpt a little bit. And that was basically so that we had a chance of not completely being down a Pokemon one Spore or Sleep Powder or whatever other sleep move choice got used, Hypnosis from Polytoad, etc., you name it. Even I heard Hypnosis Gengar once in SPL 7, which I'm honestly not proud of. It's such a risky proposition. But yeah, I digress. Sleep Talk is basically a staple on Latios if you weren't pairing with something like a Moongus, in which case that enabled Trick. But then we banned Sleep, and now all of a sudden we see these sets, the Trick variants. Yeah, Scarf has always been kind of fringe viable. I wouldn't use it a ton on sand nowadays, but it's great on rain teams, and it serves a big purpose as a fast revenge killer. It just is quite weak, and generally speaking, in a lot of matchups where you don't rely on Scarf, i.e., against sand teams or against like um, some rain teams, and you definitely just want to trick that off and just kind of get on your way to being crippling the main check to it, the steel type that would switch in or target switch in, whatever it be, then firing off attacks with hopefully recover. I prefer recover on Scarf and Dragon Pulse on specs due to spam ability, but you can kind of interchange recover and Dragon Pulse depending on the team. Personally, Dragon Pulse is great for Bloom in my eyes because on like the Bloom Rain teams, there's like at least 2 or 3 protectors, so you run out of Draco Meteor PP really quickly, and you want to have that Dragon Pulse PP. In addition to that, Dragon Pulse is phenomenal against Rain hyper offense, as Pharaohs usually don't counter, and you can just nuke that quickly enough. And against weatherless hyper offenses, so it seems to be flimsy against Latios as well. Whereas against things like Keldeo and Thunderous T and even Polytoad, Rotom W, Recover can come in handy, giving you more longevity. Of course, Rotom W teams tend to be sand, so it's not like you're going to appreciate the longevity anyways. You're going to be quickly trapped. But again, Thunderous T, great against Keldeo, great against yeah, so it's definitely worth noting. Anyway, some other things that were used besides the classic spec set, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, but if not, then this tends to be what it looks like with Recover kind of being a backslash to Dragon Pulse nowadays, or the Scarf set, which is a huge utility glue presence in the metagame and definitely has a ton of viability, but isn't quite as common as specs. Specs I pretty much use on 80% of my teams is Dragon Gem, which is a great addition to the metagame. Generally speaking, you only see it used on teams with something like Green Nicholas or Alakazam or even Latios. Dual Lati is very much a thing. It's viable. It's only seen sporadic usage over the years, but it can be potent. Is the Dragon Gem combined set, which basically is an effort to lure in things like Tyranitar or Steel types and just do a ton of damage with a +1 Dragon Gem boosted Draco Meteor. Sometimes it's a suicidal trade where you're just getting off a lot of damage or a ton of chip for the sake of your life and positioning future Pokemon, such as those aforementioned Psychic types. Sometimes it's meant as a win condition that the other Psychic types break through. It really depends on the game and the sequential plays. But yeah, this is essentially what it looks like, so it's pretty cool. And even after you waste Dragon Gem, it can still hit hard. It is a Latios half-grown, and Latios is the best Pokemon in the metagame. As I mentioned a lot throughout my last video, The History of Black and White, it's just really hard to check Latios in general right now. You got Tyranitar, which is great, but that aside, it just roams pretty much free, and Trick is just so good. And the fact that there's such a reliance on Pursuit, when Pursuit pretty much is limited to Tyranitar, just shows how good Latios is, how much it kind of centralizes the metagame. And I don't like using over-centralizing as like a term in a serious context, especially when in terms of banning Pokemon or suspecting Pokemon like that. But it just really shows that Black and White does kind of center itself around Latios, and Latios is superb. It's the breaker you need, it's the check to a ton of things you need. You name it, it does it. Latios is just great. And nowadays, as we see, with Sleep no longer being in the metagame, it is able to run Trick, which helps cripple things even better. It just made a Pokemon that was already ridiculous even better, which I wouldn't be shocked about. And nowadays, there's a lot of talks about if the Sleep remains banned, which we're voting on it once SPL ends, so keep your eyes out open for that. Then maybe Latios is worth looking into finally after all of these years of controversy. Or maybe it'll just stay this way and Black White is meant to be a tier kind of centralized around Latios. I don't know, but there certainly is a lot to discuss, and I hope that discussion happens not only in private behind closed doors, but even in public. We're going to get there, and we're going to discuss it in the near future, and I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm hyped for the metagame regardless of that, but yeah, this is Latios in a nutshell. Just trying to think some other things that might be worth noting. Again, it's set wise, it's just not the most exciting. So someone requested this video, and I was like, okay, I'll actually give it a go because Latios is like my Pokemon. Like my usage of Latios during SPL was 10 out of 10, and that was not a coincidence. Latios was on every team because I believe it's like almost a handicap not to use it on a lot of team structures. There are definitely justifiable, viable teams without Latios, but it's just so good that odds are you're going to end up using it, and those odds definitely showed this SPL when I used it on 10 of 10 teams, and I'd like to think that it saw north of 50% usage. I could actually find that, but let me find it on my phone. I don't want to show forums right now because it'll leak hidden forums, and I can't do that. Okay, I'm opening it. I'm up now. Premier League. Oh, my 2 notifications. Who liked my posts? Oh, just kidding. Battle Spot Premier League Week 1 went up. Don't mind that. Here we go. Statistics. Sorry, again, I'm looking at my phone. I'm gonna guess 55% usage. In Black White, Latios saw 65.56% usage with a 49.15 win rate. So yeah, I mean, it is the face of the tier. The next closest Pokemon were Landorus T at 59% and Tyranitar at 58%, but then nothing else above half. Yeah, damn, Black White is really centralized tier, and I kind of love it about that because it's in a place where there's so much room for innovation, but there's so much room for standards as well. And I hope you see how the metagame evolved so much, so much. Um, if only because how do I put this? Um, if only because like we see these like evolutions of the metagame, and, oh, time after time after time. And I outlined that in what I said yesterday, and um, it's just really cool to observe that while there's still being a constant like standard Pokemon in focus and things to rely upon. And I just think that Black White kind of has the best of both worlds in that regard. And I'm just really excited to see what the next kind of little evolution or tech is that kind of sets this trickle down effect of other techs and other measures and more common or less common, etc. And Black White just is going to be infinitely amusing and fascinating to me because of that. And Latios is kind of the crux of that. Latios is one of the big players, if not the big. In fact, probably the biggest. It's definitely the biggest player now. But historically, honestly, you could argue Tyranitar has been more prevalent for a longer time. Um, in a couple of years, if Landorus keeps going, it'll be in that same discussion. And of course, Ferrothorn, Pythor also. But I think Latios is number one big dog in all of Black White ever. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys really understand how good Latios is, the effect it has. And if not, please ask questions in the comments or hit me up on Discord anytime. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is Finch. Peace.